I'm going to tell you a story, but the first thing you have to understand it, time doesn't work the way you think it does. You can call me Oracle, because I'm the one that's talking to you. Welcome to the cult. No Loldims. No matter how many times you say it, it's not going to be that kind of a cult. Wow. Just refuses to stop. Alright, anyway. So, I spoke in the last one about other practices. Like, there are 13 basic practices, and then there are the ones that are called Imperial practices, because they're like the ones that are, 6 dots plus. So I've been pretty liberal about what I use for the things that are 6 dot plus, because there aren't actually like a lot of active verbs, like specifically that you can just use for like the higher Arcana. However, I think I've come up with some decent things for an alternate 10. So like basically 2 more each for the bottom 5. So there's like there can be like a total of 23 practices, and they are for the first startup or the first level, Zusrute for serve, and Santana for translate. For the second level, there's Sivyati for stitch, because they have weaves, so why wouldn't you have stitch? And Zapadam Karoti. That's at level 2 because that's effectively using magic and swearing an oath to reinforce your commitment to something. So it's sort of like, it's kind of like Raksati, but it has very much more specific parameters. For level 3, there's Savate for practice, and Vayati for braid. Weave and braid, I mean, they're not stitching. They're very similar in practice, so it would make sense that they could be on the same level. They would just be like, braid would be more at the beginning of 3, and weave would be more at the end of 3. Is my reasoning for this. For the fourth one, it's the same word, same phrase. Tandyuktam karoti. In the case of, but it has 2 alternate meanings. One is to string an instrument, and the other is to join 2 ends of string together. So effectively, like tying off a weave, so it's like set and it's not going to degrade on its own. Level 5 uses a rope and string as a garland. Raju, Karoti, and Gumfati. Why are these there? Well, it's for things like the containing of Fenris. Like back in the day, like in the Norse myth, like when Fenris needed to be contained, the gods went to the dwarves, and the dwarves made, I believe, a ribbon to contain Fenris. And they use things like the sound of cat's paws. How do you use the sound of cat's paws to bind something? Raju Karoti, that's how. That seems like master level stuff, so that's why it's level 5. Same principle of Gumfati, string as a garland, because that's effectively like our Avatara is a garland for our Sutriatman. Our incarnation is effectively a garland for our thread soul. That's the root idea behind that. All right, and with those 10 practices, I also have I'll go over Truth and Beautiful Lie again, but I have 3 more sets of 2, including Zapatha Zolka, which is Oath and Custom. So Zapatha, it starts with Zuzruti serve, Zapam Karoti swear oath, Savate practice, Tandyuktam Karoti string and instrument. That's there because of druidic initiation and bards, and the whole process of swearing an oath is like a huge part of that entire process. and so it made more sense to me for string an instrument there than join two string ends. Raju Karoti, in this case, this is a reflection of being in Zapatha or Oath, specifically because of the Fenrir myth. Curse, Zapyati. Foster, Savate. Raise the standard, Vaji Karoti. Dawn, Vayuk Chati. That's there because affected by the philosophy or the magical thinking behind this. Effectively, the sun swore an oath to keep rising every day. So that's why Dawn is there, like at line. And then Vayade Yate, become a hunter. That's effectively to embody the wild hunt. It's the oath track. It just made sense for me for level 10. And then for Zolka Custom, we have Translate Santana, Stitch Sivyati, Braid Vayati. Because, like, customs. You know what's customary? Trying to find a way to figure out what someone who's talking to you is saying. That's very customary. Stitch. A lot of our customs are made just by, like, literally actually stitching customs that we sort of half remember, and ones that were sort of, like, being introduced to at the time together, like, on the fly. Same for braid. Tantyuktam Karoti, join two string ends together. That's actually specifically a reference to the Pradasara wedding ribbon that's worn as a sign of engagement and worn during the nuptials. Because that's a custom that's associated with the oaths. Strings of garland. Bless. Ed Hayati. Oh, strings of garland is Gumfati. Invert. Parivartate. That's there in the excision play. So Foster is there in the entity spot, and Invert Parivartate is there in the excision spot in custom, because sometimes we have to invert customs because they stop making sense anymore, and that's the point when we look at them and we see if the inverted custom works better, or then we just invert it again to go back to the way it was. Return. Pratyagachati. That's about a return to the old ways. Assume the shape of Damyati Bhimabavi Babadi. Because there is a part of us that even if, no matter what, there's a part of us that, like, no matter how much of a democracy we live in, like, there is a custom to, like, be in awe of princesses. That's what that's about. It's kind of how we react. The thing I wanted to bring up specifically about Satya and Asatya Abba is the level 10 ones. Because the level 10 one for Satya is Avatarati. So the truth can descend into you and be through you. Pretty baller, I think. And Asatya Abba, Uplavate. So only the most beautiful of the lies come to the surface. The thing about the beautiful lie is something that conceals a grand mystical and mysterious truth. And so that's why it's good for that to come to the surface, because then that mysterious hidden truth is that much closer for people to realize. All right. Next is language and numbers. Language is the subtle one, numbers is the gross one. Why? Because numbers are one of the most direct physical things in terms of, like, information that is just, like, of the physical. Like, yes, we conceptualize them, we work with them in our head all the time. But, like, well, I'll get to that in a second. So, level 1. For Barset Santana Translate, should be pretty intuitively obvious why that's there. For numbers, it's Uzruti serve. And the reason why it's like that is when you're doing a math problem, it ain't going to solve itself. It just ain't. Numbers are only useful to us when we effectively listen to them. And we listen to them with the intent of serving them because they ain't going to add themselves together. They ain't going to divide themselves. They ain't going to raise themselves to a square root. We got to do it for them. Both Barca and Saga, Sibyati for Stitch, and Savate for practice. Because basically for the same reason for Zulka and Custom. For Barca, Tantu Yuktam Karoti, string and instrument, because language is an instrument. It just is. Tantu Yuktam Karoti join two string ends together for numbers because of number strings. Because they're literally actually a thing. They just are. For the same reason, Sagwa Raju Karoti versus Barca Gumfati. Because, you join enough strings of numbers together. Basically, that has to do with, thread counts in rope. I'm not even joking. Versus Gumfati, us being able to use language as a garland to, decorate our daily life and how we speak. Both of them at level 6 are evolve. Samunati for Barca and Vikasati for Saga, because Samunati is more of evolving into a position, and that's more of the way languages evolve. They evolve in a both haphazard but also very formalized way, whereas numbers evolve they just keep going. They just keep going. As long as we're doing the Zruzrude, they will keep doing the Vilaksari. It's just how it is. Both of them have, at the excision spot, Parabatate, because inverting language and inverting numbers is something that just you do in the normal operation of them. Dvaji Karoti for language, because how many languages are tied to nationality? Most of them. Dvari Karoti employs a medium for numbers. Both of those are at the subsoul spot because just kind of made sense to me. Vayakachati or Dawn for level 9 in Barca, and Return or Pratyagchati for numbers. Return is a reference to the return key and a return value function. Because when you get done with your mathematical operation, you get a return value function, or you get it does not compute, or you get a does not exist. You get something. You get something back. And for Dawn for language, every time the sun sets and the sun rises, and people start talking to each other again, the possibility for a new word dawns. It just does. Barca, level 10. Pratyaksi Bhavati, appear in person. Because, yeah, you can write a letter. But language is most effective when you appear in person, and you can see whether or not the person in front of you understands the Barca coming out of your Asan. And at level 10 for Saga numbers is Nergachati, or disappear, because that's what happens when you have no remainder. Everything fits neatly, and there is nothing extra, so anything that is extra just disappears. That's one of the wonderful and mildly terrifying thing about numbers. And lastly, Sara and Tattva, essence and reality. So, Sara and Tattva. With Sara, we start with Zrute, because if you're working with your own essence, that is the best way to get in touch with it. Being of a mindset of serving your own essence by listening to it. Tattva, Santana, translate. This is less about like verbal or machine language translation, and more to do with like translating essence into Tattva, like translating like Sara into Tattva. That's basically what it's about. Which, like, if you want to be like talk about, is like one of the most basic like core concepts of metaphysics. Like, you can use a lot of different words for it, and one of those words is translate. Just is. Like, back in the day, when saints used to fly, they used to refer to it as translating, actually. Level 2 for both is Zapatum Karoti. Why? Well, because if you're employing your own essence directly, you should swear an oath to yourself to not screw up your essence. If you're going to be messing with reality directly, you should swear an oath to not be an idiot about it. I'm not joking. Because using Tattva as an Arcana is hilariously not funny. Level 3, Tattva, practice, Sabate, Sara, Dayati, braid. Doing inner work with essence, like learning how to braid essence sounds cool. I'm just not joking. I'm not joking. Sara, string an instrument. Tantra Yuktam Karoti. Because effectively you're the instrument and the Sara is the strings. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Join two string ends together for Tattva. Tying stuff off. Garland. Gumfati. For Tattva. Raju Karoti for Sara. That has to do with... I got to make this quick because I'm running out of time. I like keeping it under 20 minutes. Raju Karoti is for about like your silver cord and your gold cord, if you're like astrally projecting and stuff. Erayati, bless for essence. Zapyati, curse for reality. Savate, foster for both. Dvari Karoti employs a medium for Sara, or essence, and Dvaji Karoti, raise a standard in reality. Dawn, Vayukchati in Tattva, and return, Pratyakchati for Sara. And then Rubin Karoti for Sara, so you can have your essence assume the form of other essences, which is nifty. And appear in person for Tattva, because, you know, if you're dealing with reality magic, it really helps to show up in person. And this is Oracle, I'm gonna sing myself out. Drink safely out there, practice safely, no doubt. And if you think Tattva Mantrabala be not for thee, then, you know, just like Suzuki. And things will work out fine for thee. Whoa. This is Oracle, gonna sing myself out. Dream safely out there, and to all y'all, peace out.